Okay, chapter 13. I got to go to Doc Murphy's on Saturday, though, to help him lay some slab-side timbers along his garden out back. There's something in me seems to be growing bigger and bigger, and I feel I just can't hold it in no longer. It's not Judd taking a shot at me neither. So when Doc and I take a break, he's got this jug of fresh cider on his back steps. I take a sip from my glass and say, I done something I shouldn't have done, but if I had it to do over, I don't know that I'd do any different. Doc glances over at me, then takes a good long drink. Well, we've all got a story or two like that, I guess. Not like mine, I say, and the more I talk, the more I'm feeling this has to come out. If I don't tell it, it'll rip a hole in my chest. I swallow again. You know how after the German Shepherd tore into Shiloh and we're taking care of him till he gets better? Well, I went up to Judd Travers the Sunday I was supposed to give Shiloh back. I went up early morning to tell him I wanted to keep that dog. I was ready to do whatever it took to get Shiloh for my own, even fight Judd if I had to. I wasn't going to give him back. Doc's giving me a puzzled look, like, how can an 11-year-old boy fight a 200-pound car mechanic? Something I hadn't figured out either, to tell the truth. What happened, though, is I came across Judd out in the field, and I saw him kill a deer, a doe. In the summer? He killed a doe? Yeah, he just shot it with his rifle. It wasn't anywhere near his garden the way he said. There's a real stiff fine for that, Doc says. I know. I blackmailed him. Doc sets down his glass of cider, arms resting on his knees, and he looks at me for a long time. Judd's not real happy when I step out of the woods, and he knows I've seen him do it. I tell him that doe's not in season, and he wants to know what I'm going to do about it. And I say I can tell the game warden, and he offers to divide the meat with my family if I keep quiet about it. Says Doc. I tell him I don't want that meat. I want Shiloh. So the deal is I'll help him drag that doe to his place, keep my mouth shut, and work for him for 2 weeks. And after that, the dog's mine. So I do, and I never told my dad. I see, says Doc. Now you tell me something, I say. Which do you suppose is right? Tell the game warden about that deer and have to turn Shiloh back over to Judd? I never saw a dog so scared of a man as Shiloh was of him. Well, it seems to me, Marty, that you thought it over and you did what you thought was best. Yeah, but was it right, I ask? I didn't report Judd killing a deer out of season, and now I suppose he'll go on right on doing it. Dad says he's been hunting some up in our woods lately, even though we got it posted. Might even be going up there drunk. What if he gets to firing crazy and one of his bullets comes down and kills Becky? I take a deep breath. Sometimes I don't sleep so good, just worrying about it. What I don't tell Doc is that maybe if I'd reported Judd, they would have taken his rifle away. And then what Judd did out on the road last night wouldn't have happened. I don't guess they'd take his gun, though. Some folks, Doc's saying, think they know what's right for every occasion. They say there's a right and a wrong for everything. Well, it's good if things work out that way, but sometimes they don't. Even for you, I ask? Doc smiles just a little. Especially for me. I grew up learning to tell the truth, Marty. My dad ever caught me in a lie, I'd get a whipping. Went through high school and college and medical school, and I never once cheated on a test. The real test, it seems, came later. I realize I'm getting paid for sitting here in the shade on Doc's step, drinking cold cider and listening to him talk, but he doesn't seem to care. There were a lot of them tests, but not like the ones you get in school. There was a man with a sickness I couldn't cure. I knew that most people like him didn't have much time left to live, but he kept talking about how he was going to get well, and his wife said she knew he was going to get well too. And when they asked me how he was doing, I just beat around the bush. I figured I wasn't going to be the one to make him sad. And then, well, he died. He got real sick on a Sunday and was gone on Monday. He hadn't left a will, hadn't taught his wife to drive or what to do about his business. And the wife came to me and said, why didn't you tell us he was going to die? It would have made things so much easier. Yeah, but you thought... Yeah, but I thought wrong. So when I had another patient I couldn't cure, I decided to tell her the truth. She was a painter, had shows all over the state, Huntington, Charleston, Morgantown, even in New York City. I knew she didn't have a lot of time left and figured she must have a lot of business to take care of. So the next time she was in my office talking about some pain she was having, I told her, as gently as I could, that she ought to get her affairs in order because she might not make that next big show she was talking about. Here, Doc takes a deep breath and puts his elbows on the step behind him. Well, she died 5 months later, and her friend sent me an angry letter. Why did I have to tell her, they asked. She was working on 3 paintings, her very best work, and after I told her the news, she never picked up her brush again. Just sat home with the blinds drawn for 5 months and then died. I sat thinking about that. Maybe you could have said something in between, I suggested. Oh, I tried that. Don't think I haven't. I say, only God knows when we're going to die. Said that to a man just the other day, and he looked me right in the eye and says, I know, Doc, but in your experience, how long does a man like me who's sick usually live? Could hardly ask it plainer than that. Yet I wonder, does he really want to know? Doc picks up his glass again and drains it. If folks know what's right and wrong for themselves, I've no quarrel with that, and we've all got to obey the law. But beyond that, what's right in one situation may be wrong in another. You have to decide. That's the hard part. I realized when I go home that afternoon that Doc never did tell me what I should have done about that dough. And I see that no matter how old you get, you always meet up with problems that won't have easy answers. David Howard calls. Why don't you come over tomorrow, he says. I got this puzzle last year for my birthday that I never opened. It's a map of the ocean floor. That's the kind of presents David folks give him. No wonder he never opened it. Do you know how deep the deepest place in the ocean is, asked David. No. Guess. A mile? Almost 7 miles. You're lying, David. Come on over tomorrow and see. Come on around 2 o'clock. I'll show you. There's mountains and valleys on the floor of the ocean just like there are on land. It was sounding a little more interesting now. Okay, I tell him I'll come. Dara Lynn's feeling good because she only got 4 more days to wait to see if Judd's black and white dog has rabies, and it don't look like he does, so she probably won't have to have those shots. She's sliding around the kitchen in her stocking feet pretending she's on ice skates, and then she grabs Becky's hands, and they're both slipping and sliding on Ma's waxed floor. Fine with me, says Ma, eating an apple in our living room. They'll just shine it up all the prettier. They have to get Shiloh into the act, though, and pretty soon they're trying to put Becky's socks on his paws, and then they got a pair of Dara Lynn's underpants on him and a wild and wonderful West Virginia t-shirt. They're screeching and giggling and looking around for a cap and some sunglasses. I figure any dog who puts up with that should get a Medal of Honor. Dad comes home with news. He heard on his mail route today that Judd Travers went to work drunk one day this week, and his boss tells him it better not happen again. It seems like every new thing Judd does is worse than the one before. First, he runs into mailboxes, then he picks a fight, drives drunk, and goes to work drunk. Maybe he'll get fired and move away from here, I'm thinking. That'll be fine with me.